Good to see you. It's me again, Ben, and it's great to be with you this morning. How's your week been? Has it been good? Has it been okay? Has there been not so great bits? I hear that some of you are off school for a couple of weeks. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you get a holiday. Hope you help your mum and dad out around the house. Do you know that feeling that you get when you've just had so much to eat that your tummy is going to burst and there's just no room left? You're so full. Do you ever get that feeling? And there's not room for anything more except maybe a little bit of dessert, because there's always room for a little bit of dessert. You ever know that feeling? We're so full. Well, sometimes it's a bit like that in our lives. They become so full of stuff that it seems there's no room for anything else, like the really important things, like making room for God and for Jesus, to talk with him and to listen to him. Or maybe at the moment it's not that your life is full of stuff, but maybe your head is full of stuff, so much information about COVID and about all this other stuff going on, and it's hard to find space even in your thoughts. Luke, who's one of the writers of the Bible, he writes this book called Acts, which is about all the first followers of Jesus. He talks about this group of people, and there's a number of different people that he mentions, and we're going to look at a guy called Stephen this morning. But he mentions that they were people that were full of God, full of the Holy Spirit, and their lives were just completely taken up with God and with Jesus, that everybody could see it. They made room for God so much that they were full of him. He filled their lives. And everybody noticed, and even Luke noticed, and he wrote about it and said these were people who were full of God, full of the Holy Spirit. What do you think that would look like if we were full of God, full of his Spirit? What would it look like for us this week, even to make room for God to fill our lives with himself? I want to read this little story in the Bible, and it's in the book that Luke writes called Acts. And what's happened is the church is growing and people are coming to know Jesus, and it's incredible. But they're having a bit of a problem because they're giving out lots of food to people who need it, but some people are getting missed, and it's not fair, and they're getting a little bit upset. So the apostles have a great idea. This is what they said. Look, it wouldn't be right for us, this is in Acts chapter 6, it wouldn't be right for us to abandon our responsibility for talking about God to you. But we need to find a way to care for the poor. So choose from among us 7 people who everyone trusts, men who are full of the Holy Spirit, who are full of God and wisdom, and then we'll give them this job to do. Everybody thought that was a great idea, and so Luke says that they chose 7 people, and he lists them by name, but one of those people is this guy called Stephen. And Luke writes this, he says, Stephen was a man who was full of faith and full of God, the Holy Spirit. Something about him that stood out. What would it look like to stand out like Stephen as a man or woman, boy or girl, who is full of God, so that everybody can see that? You know, Stephen was full of God and full of the Holy Spirit, and everybody noticed. The Spirit inside of him was overflowing to those around him in faith and wisdom and grace, and lots of powerful things were happening around him. I know in my life sometimes God gets squeezed out, by all the clutter that we fill our lives with, but I've been thinking a little bit about what would it mean for me to make room for God. I want to ask you that. What would it look like? What would it mean for you to make room for God, to fill you up? He wants us to make room for him. He wants to fill our lives up like Stephen, so that everyone can see that we're full of his Spirit. Why don't you ask him how you could do that this week, and find some space in your week off to listen to Jesus for yourself. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, there's more stuff that can help you unpack some of this together, and you can go over to our website www.foilvineyard.co.uk/kids, and you can engage with some of the activities there to help you meet with God together. And he really wants to meet you, and I'll help you think about how do we make room for God so that our lives are full of his Spirit, because that's what we want, isn't it? why don't you head over now and have a really great day with your family and a really great couple of weeks. See you next week. Bye.